as you know, the country's broke. Many of you out there are broke as well. And there are a lot of problems. And the medicine, the fixes of easy money, printing up money and giving it to the banks and hoping that everything's going to work out okay has not worked. We've tried it for almost 8 years now, going on 9. And where are we really? Not much better off, probably worse off when you get down to it. So, person you're about to hear from, Philip Kennedy. Phil, you have written a book called Financial Judo, and it kind of sprung out of your experience when you moved to Northern Virginia back in '07, and you were encountering many of the financial problems related to credit card debt, to your student loans, and of course, you were living in a high cost of living area. And pressure built, but because you're an accountant, a CPA, a certified financial planner candidate, you're going for that now, an accredited financial counselor, and a fraud examiner, you approach this from a logical standpoint and, rose and overcame those problems. And hey, that's where we're at now. And I want to welcome you to the Financial Survival Network.
Well, thanks, Kerry. It's an honor to be on your show. I've been a fan of it for a long time. And it's also an honor to follow two of my heroes, Doug Casey and John Rubino, who you had on yesterday. And I quote both of them in my book, Financial Judo.
Really? Well, a tough act to follow. You know what they say, never follow anyone better than you and never let them see you sweat. But since this is a podcast and those interviews happened yesterday, that's a lifetime ago. So you're on the stage now, Phil, and we're thrilled to have you. And thanks for being a loyal member of the community. So Financial Judo, basically, what is it? And is that what you use to get out of your financial distress?
I did. The title of my book is Financial Judo, Leverage the Crash to Your Advantage. And as the title implies, I believe we are in a depression, in fact, bigger than the Great Depression. And I agree with Doug Casey that this will be called the Greater Depression once it is all over. But as with any crisis, there is also opportunity. And so the goal of this book is really to just teach the common man how to leverage this crisis to their advantage. And it's really done with several very simple everyday steps. And I think that is kind of a dying message in this modern culture. We get images all the time that suggest that investing is supposed to be difficult and there's supposed to be a mania to it. I mean, if you watch CNBC or Jim Cramer or any of these modern financial publications, it's written for folks who, that's only really for a sophisticated person. And you don't just see this in money, but you also see it throughout our culture, whether, it's the fitness realm. You need to be going 110%. You need to be doing things like CrossFit where, you put out as much energy as possible. And no one ever says, well, hey, why don't you just kind of go for a walk and ease up on the calories? Or you even see it in major metropolitan areas like I live here in Washington, D.C., in Northern Virginia. And the way people drive. And they pass you on the right in the lane next to you, and then they zoom in front of you, and you're all sitting at a red light. And these are just all indications that this is not normal. We're living in a culture that seems to demand excess energy at all times. And so that's really what my book is trying to address, trying to teach folks how they can get ahead with just simple everyday measures.
And so first thing, you got to have a kind of come to Jesus meeting with yourself when you start all this, don't you?
That's right. And that's what my wife and I did. Like most couples here in the United States in our modern era, we came together with nothing but debt, and a lot of it was college debt. Most couples in America start off with a mortgage and they don't even have a house. And sometimes it's, 6 figures in student loan debt, and they're waiting tables or tending bar or serving coffee. And it's a real shame what we've done to our young people these days. And I do address education in the book. But the very first thing to do is to sit down and, money really is more emotion than head knowledge. And the folks that I counsel for free, they come to me and they read all the newsletters. They listen to smart programming like the Financial Survival Network. They follow all the talking heads. They know what the story is. But the real issue is getting your loved ones to buy in and follow that message along with you so that you can improve your personal finance situation. So my book talks about everything from the simple of paying off debt to building an emergency fund, 3 months to 24 months, depending on your lifestyle. And then we get into, okay, how are we going to survive in this economy that's deteriorating rapidly? So then I get into buying real money, which you and I know is gold and silver. I talk about renting rather than owning, skipping college if you haven't already made that mistake, avoiding the dollar, investing in economic freedom when you can, and really just seeking capitalism and avoiding socialism at all costs.
Yeah. So avoiding socialism, how do you do that, though, when the whole country and the world seems to be heading more and more to anti-capitalism and pro-collectivism?
It's difficult, and especially within the United States, but I do outline some measures. I mean, just within the states, right? There's certain places like Maryland and Virginia where they're vastly different, even though, one's only drive across the river from the other. Looking for places like Texas over Louisiana or Utah over Nevada. People are making these decisions every day. Businesses are leaving California for Texas and Tennessee all the time. And it stinks because a lot of times relationships are what keep you in a specific location. But we are entering a period in U.S. history that's going to be unlike any other before. So a lot of sacrifices are going to have to be made. And that's really where the motivation comes. You have to protect yourself. You're going to have to take drastic measures. And in terms of your money and protecting your wealth, things that the mainstream will never suggest are actually the avenues that you have to go. You have to seek the countries in the world where economic freedom is a priority. They're still maintaining free market capitalism. And really, it's unfortunate because the United States used to be that place, but really it's no longer. And so that's really what I get into in the book. It's looking for folks who know where these pockets in the world are, following their lead. I don't personally like to change my own oil. I hire an expert to do it, and I think it's worth paying the price. And so going out and finding those advisors, I'm sure many of them have been on your show, who know what's going on, understand real economics, not Keynesian economics, but real economics, and are able to help get a portfolio together for you that's going to protect you through the years ahead.
And so what do you do here? Do you rent or do you buy, or is it better with what's going to happen to have debt or not to have debt?
Well, with regard to the issue of renting versus buying, I'm a huge proponent of renting. And that's because I still think, even though we're not seeing housing prices as high as we did pre-financial crisis, we still have not seen all the air come out of that bubble. And in fact, I was looking at an article or a video that Mike Maloney put together this morning, and you can even see by the data from Schiller that we're still in a housing bubble. Prices haven't nearly come down as far as they should have, and in fact, they've gone up, especially in major metro areas like D.C., New York, San Francisco. So that's really not like a time when I would like to buy. In fact, I sold my house 2 years ago, and I've been renting. And it's interesting, Terry, because my neighbor just put his house on the market. And in order to own that house, if I put down the full 20%, my rent or my mortgage would still be $200 greater than it would cost to own his home. And that's ignoring all the maintenance costs and repairs that come with a home. People forget about all that. But you don't have any of that when you rent. So there's a lot of upside. And then if I were to put down only 3%, my mortgage would be almost $1,000 to $1,200 more a month. So in a lot of these major metro areas or even small town USA, there is a lot of upside to renting. I'd say hold and wait for the air to come out of this bubble. And there are going to be deals in neighborhoods that you and your family thought would never be available. And maybe you'll get into a community that you never thought was achievable before.
Yeah, it's just a question of what's going to be here after the final comeuppance occurs. None of us really know that for sure. You hear many different opinions from many people. It's just impossible to know. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean you can't plan for it and that you shouldn't be prepared for it.
That's correct. I mean, frankly, what we are all suffering through, Kerry, is one of the biggest frauds perpetrated on mankind. And I understand that because I'm a certified fraud examiner, and that's kind of the way I look at this through the lens of forensic accounting and fraud investigation. And with every fraud, when you take fraud 101, you learn that every fraud has a three-sided triangle: a rationalization, a motivation, and an opportunity. And the monetary policy that we're all living under has all three of those elements, a rationalization. Look, we have to keep this economy together. We can't let these folks know that everything they've worked toward is all about to fall apart. A motivation or a pressure. We saw Janet Yellen visit with the president in the Oval Office yesterday.
I know, that's a big deal.
Right. There's a lot of pressure there. Ben Bernanke came out within the last year or so and said, look, I know that there's video of me out there saying that the economy was doing fine, but we all knew it was in trouble, but I kind of looked at myself as an arm of the administration. And so that's really what these chairmen see themselves as. So they're motivated. They feel pressure to hold everything together. And then, the opportunity, even Keynes said, not one man in a million can see inflation. So they're able to get away with it because no one can really see or understand it. So they're able to continue this material misrepresentation with an intent to deceive, also called a fraud.
Well, you have a great point there. Inflation, because what we call inflation is incorrect. Inflation is not rising consumer prices. According to the Austrians, it is an increase in the overall money supply. And that money, that newly created money, will find its way into the economy and different prices will go up. It doesn't have to necessarily be your steak or turkey at the supermarket. You can see it in high-priced artwork, collectibles, trophy real estate. Often that's where it goes. And so we got to work with the proper definition first. But obviously, things are about to change in a major way. So Phil, thanks for writing this book. Thanks for being a long-term member of the Financial Survival Network community. Tell us your website and how we get the book.
Sure. My website is Philip with one L, Kennedy.com. That's philipkennedy.com. And right there on my homepage, folks can give me their email address and then download the book for free. If they would like to get it on a Kindle, they can for a small price. But it is available for free. And the reason I'm giving it away for free is I want as many people to get a hold of this book as possible. And, like I said, this is not a treatise from Murray Rothbard or David Stockman. This is a book that's really designed for the folks that your smart listeners meet at cocktail parties and holiday gatherings, and they're talking to people, and they realize they have no idea what's going on. This is really a primer on getting someone prepared for what's coming. So they can get the book there. They can also check out my weekly podcast and YouTube channel. My brother and I do a weekly show where we incorporate everything from sports and celebrities and current events into the topics of personal finance, trying to make it relatable to everyone who may not be interested in these topics at all. So they can find me there, and of course on Facebook, Kennedy Financial, and Twitter at Kennedy Finance.
All right, Kennedy Finance. And as always, you will find a link to Phil's main site in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Hey, don't forget, we've got an event coming up April 21st in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Andy Scheckman and Andy Hoffman of Miles Franklin fame, large bullion dealer, putting on a complimentary event. That means you pay nothing and you'll get a free dinner. We've got a few seats left, not a lot, so you need to be there. Just go over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com, click the link on the top menu bar that says Florida event. You'll be taken to the registration page. Sign up now. If you can't make it, we've got a webcast going on. There's still some availability there. Check it out, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Phil, thank you so much for joining us.